Just a reminder to vote in this week's Locals poll, where you decide what deck I take to Locals every single week. Without any further ado, I hope you enjoyed the video. What's up, YouTube? Welcome back to the channel, and for today we have the first deck profile of 2025, which is the deck I was planning to take to Locals this past week, being Metalfoes. We ended up not meeting physically because of a store closure, but we did just meet online in Discord and Dueling Book and have some games there. Only played one with this deck, though, because we were also doing some stuff for regionals that we're planning to go to in the next month or so. So only played one game with this deck, but we came out on top. So yeah, here's a look what it looks like on paper. Then we'll get to the card by card. Alright, so I'm actually going to go through the effect monsters first because they actually have unique effects. The first one is 2 copies of Metalfoes Vanisher. So this one's a level 9, so you actually can't pendulum summon it in the deck without using a card to change the pendulum scales. I'm not going to go over its pendulum effect because usually you don't put this in the scale. But basically its monster effect is if it was special summoned by the effect of a Metalfoes card, you get to target a monster your opponent controls or that's in their graveyard and banish it. And then it does have a way to special summon itself with an effect where you can target 2 face-up cards on your field, including at least 1 Metalfoes card, pop them both, and then special summon him, and yes, that would trigger the banish effect. So pretty nice removal there on a 2900 body. Next is Metalfoes Melcaster, running 3 of him. He's a scale 1, and he has the most common Metalfoes pendulum effect, where you can target a face-up card on your field besides itself, destroy it to set a Metalfoes spell or trap from the deck. And then for its unique effect, for its monster effect, basically if it's destroyed by battle or card effect, you can add a face-up Metalfoes pendulum monster from your extra deck to your hand, but you can't use that card in your pendulum scale for the rest of the turn. So there's that. So basically, yeah, you can recycle one from your extra deck, but you can't place it in your pendulum zone immediately. You have to wait till the next turn. Next is Rare Metalfoes Bismugear. This one's a scale 8. And it has the same pendulum effect that all the rest of the Metalfoes have, besides Vanisher, because Vanisher's the oddball. But basically, for its monster effect, when it's destroyed, you get to add a Metalfoes monster from deck to hand during the end phase of that turn. So that's really nice, being able to set up for the next turn, especially if this is destroyed during your opponent's turn. Then you get whatever monster you want to try to break their board. Okay, so that's actually it for the effect monsters. Now we're going to go to the normal monsters. Let me zoom out. And we're actually just going to cover all of them at once because they all have the exact same pendulum effect. So we're going to go triple Volflame, triple Gold Driver, triple Silvered, and triple Steelin, of course. So Volflame and Steelin are scale 8s. Gold Driver and Silvered are scale 1s. And as I mentioned before, they all have the same pendulum effect, where you can target another face-up card on your field, destroy it, and if you do, set a Metalfoes spell or trap directly from your deck. So, yeah. No monster effects to talk about, so we'll just move on to the spells. Alright, so starting with the spells, we have our fusion spells that we're going to be setting off of the pendulum effects here. We have 1 Metalfoes fusion and 2 Metalfoes fusion. So I'm running one OG Metalfoes fusion just because we can recycle it. So we can literally just, use it, recycle it, and then set it from the deck again next turn. So running more than one just seems kind of redundant, especially since Ash can't stop the setting from the deck. So next is Metalfoes fusion. I'm running two of this one because it is a little more useful, considering that the Metalfoes, they tend to pop themselves a lot. So you load up your extra deck. With Metalfoes fusion, you get to fusion summon a Metalfoes fusion monster from your extra deck using up to one monster each from hand, field, and or your face-up extra deck. So basically, you can use one from your hand and one from your face-up extra deck, or one from your field, one from your face-up extra deck, etc. So having to pop your Metalfoes is no longer a problem with this card. Next, moving into some of the more generic spells that we're running. I'm actually running two Pendulum Fusion, as well as, this one is a last minute change, and since we didn't meet in person, I wasn't able to trade for it. But this is going to be a copy of Instant Fusion. If I remember, I'll put a picture up in editing. But so, Pendulum Fusion, if I have two monsters in my scales, I can use those to fusion summon. It's just a way to get an extra fusion monster out. Instant Fusion, pay 1,000 to special summon a level 5 or lower fusion monster from the extra deck. This is just an extra body to go into something like a Zortless, or even something like one of the Link monsters. Just another way to get an extra body. Next, running two copies of Unexpected Die. So if we control no monsters, we special summon a level 4 lower normal monster from the deck. Obviously, there's plenty of those. And I did bump this down to 2 because sometimes I would draw this late game. If I was in a top deck situation, it'd be useless. So I decided to put in the Instant Fusion instead. Next, 3 copies of Emergency Teleport. So obviously all the Metalfoes are psychics. So Emergency Teleport is literally just a free extender, or free starter, or whatever you want to use it for. So yeah, Emergency Teleport is really, really good. Then next, running 3 copies of Super Polymerization. So with this, we discard a card to fusion summon a fusion monster using monsters from either field as fusion materials, and this can't be responded to. So basically we're running this because most of the Metalfoes fusion monsters are actually very generic in terms of their materials. So being able to just yoink our opponent's monsters to fuse with during either turn is really, really nice. And of course, can't be responded to because it's super poly. So next, 3 copies of Piercing the Darkness. So this card, if we normal or special a normal monster, we get to draw a card. So card draw is really nice. And then if an attack is declared involving either a level 5 or higher normal monster, or an extra deck monster that was made using a normal monster, then this basically acts like Honest, where that monster gains attack equal to the monster's attack that it's battling. So since most of the Metalfoes monsters are normal monsters, this basically makes it really hard to kill our guys in battle. So really good to help push for damage. And now moving on to the trap cards. We're going 1 Metalfoes counter and 1 Metalfoes combination. So counter, whenever a Metalfoes card is destroyed by battle card effect, you get to special summon a Metalfoes monster from your deck. So this actually does trigger the Vanisher, since it's summoned off of a Metalfoes card, so that's really nice. And you can even trigger this during your turn with one of your pendulum effects. Pop a card in a new chain, do this, get Vanisher, banish a card, yada yada. And then it does have a grave effect where you can banish it from the grave to get a monster from your face-up extra deck to your hand. That has to be used in a different turn though, but it can be used during your opponent's turn. And then finally, combination. This says once per turn, if a fusion monster is fusion summoned, you can target a Metalfoes monster in your grave with lower level than that fusion monster, special summon it. But the main thing we are running this for is actually the second effect, where if this is sent from the field to the grave, you can search a Metalfoes monster. So basically, if we have the resources available where we don't need to grab one of our fusion spells, we can set this off of one of our pendulum scales, flip it during our opponent's turn, then when our turn comes back around, use our pendulum scale to pop it, get a set and a search. So just a way to try to get more resources, of course. And then that's going to be it for the main deck, so let's move on to the extra deck. So first we're going to cover the Link monsters. There's only 2 of them. First is the Heavy Metalfoes Amalgam, and then this is another change I had made. This one is going to be a Doolittle Chimera, just because it is a generic fire support. This one, I don't think I've ever made it. It's just in there just in case, mainly for the arrows, but so yeah, we're gonna not talk about that one anymore. So Amalgam, basically, when it's sent from the monster zone to the grave by card effect, you can either pop a Metalfoes card you control to special summon it from the grave, or you can equip this from the grave to a Metalfoes monster you control as an equip that gives it 1,000 attack. That's usually what we use it for. We usually use it for the equip. We don't normally use this one all that much. Unfortunately, the main Link monster we want to make, which would be, of course, Electromite, is banned. But I feel like Electromite would actually make making this a lot easier. But unfortunately, Electromite is banned for the moment, so. But yeah, Amalgam is an option that you can use. Usually, it's not something I go for too often, but the option is there. Next, 2 copies of Metalfoes, or excuse me, full Metalfoes Alcahest. This one, it takes a Metalfoes and a normal monster. This one is what I'll use a lot of times going first, because during our opponent's turn, we get to yoink one of their monsters, and he gains defense equal to that monster's original attack. And then you can also use the equips as fusion materials, so that's really nice. Only drawback with this one is that first line of text there, it says must be fusion summoned, so you can't bring this back from the grave at all. That is a bit of a bummer. Next, 2 copies of Metalfoes Adamante. So this one, it serves 2 primary purposes. It serves as a super poly target because it's just a Metalfoes plus a monster with 2,500 or less. So this can help to break boards even further or try to go for game. Or it also serves as instant fusion fodder to try to make a Link or one of our other fusions. Next is probably the main fusion that we're going to make, which is Metalfoes Mithrilium. So this one, it just takes a Metalfoes plus a Pendulum. And then basically, as an ignition effect, you can target 2 Metalfoes cards in your grave and 1 card on the field. Shuffle those into the deck, and then return the card on the field to the hand. And then if this one is sent from field to grave, you special summon a Metalfoes Pendulum monster from either your grave or your extra deck. So that's really good for triggering the Vanisher. Next is 2 copies of Metalfoes Azortless. So this one, if it's special summon from the extra deck, you can target a card your opponent controls. Shuffle 2 face-up pendulums from your extra deck into the deck to pop that card. And then when it's killed, it goes into the pendulum zone. And its pendulum effect is if a face-up Metalfoes card you control is destroyed, you get to pop a card on the field. So that's actually, this is actually a pretty decent card. But it's just a little harder to make because it takes a Metalfoes monster plus a fusion monster. So it is a little more steep in terms of your resource investment unless you're super polying one of your opponent's fusion monsters. So we don't make that one all that often, unfortunately. But that's also part of the reason why we included instant fusion to make making a Azortless a little easier. Next, 2 Metalfoes Orichalc. This one just requires 2 Metalfoes monsters, and basically it gives all Metalfoes monsters double piercing, and when it's sent from field to grave, you pop a card on the field. And then finally, 2 copies of Metalfoes Crimsonite. This one is a vanilla fusion. It just requires a Metalfoes plus 2 monsters with 3,000 or less attack, so this one's really good with Super Poly to break boards. And yeah, that is it for the deck profile. I hope you enjoyed this deck profile for pure Metalfoes. It's a really fun deck, and it's also really cheap. I think the only thing that was somewhat expensive was the Super Polys. But even then, those were I think they were $5 or something at the time that I bought them. So yeah, really fun deck, really cheap deck, great for just casual play. But yeah, that was it. We're 1-0 for 2025 so far with Metalfoes, so that was nice. Like, subscribe, vote in the locals poll, that good stuff. And I'll see you guys next time.